Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Brent Hulsebus, chiropractor. I'm coming at you live here tonight from the clinic. You know, the first Tuesday of every month, we like to do a live webinar where we present some chiropractic research. So if you're watching this live, hey, glad to have you. If you're watching this later, well, hey, still glad to have you. I'm glad you found us. So tonight, the goal is to talk a little bit about chronic pain and opioid problems and how chiropractic affects. Now, the goal tonight really is for me to educate you on the research that we have, not so much an opinion, not so much things that we may have heard of, not have heard of. I just want to actually give you the actual research. So I will present the research to you. We'll watch a little video. The research company actually makes really good little videos. We'll watch the video. We'll discuss it afterwards. And then I'll go into another segment. We have a live chat too. So if you're watching live and you want to ask a question, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, it's supposed to appear here. As a disclaimer, I am the presenter, I am the author, I am the host, I am the MC, I am the DJ, I am the IT guy. So I will do my best to see your question, I promise. If not, I'll hit them all at the end. And I'm going to bring this up more than once in case more people join as we go. Again, if you're watching live, go ahead and ask questions if you have them. If you're not watching live, you're watching this later, go ahead and leave the comments below. We'll find you later. We'll answer your questions. So a lot of people first discover about chiropractic because they're in pain or something hurts, and someone says, "Oh, you should go see my chiropractor." But I want to get more involved in the chronic issues and what makes these problems chronic and how chiropractic intervenes. And on Monday, every Monday here we do a thing called Ask the Chiropractor. And today or this week, my Ask the Chiropractor was, how often do I have to go? How many times does it take? We're going to dive into that a little bit more scientific tonight. So I'm going to try to answer that question even better tonight. So without further waiting, I'm going to dive into our first video here. And the first one, I'm going to talk a little bit about the research of understanding the actual mechanism of pain. Before we can talk too much about pain, we really have to understand how pain works and why we even have pain. So let's watch that.
Experiencing pain is normal. Everyone experiences pain now and then. Pain is supposed to be a protective experience to make sure you stop doing things that may be dangerous. But chronic pain, that is pain that has persisted for more than 3 months, is no longer protective, nor informative. Let's look at what chronic pain is and what you can do about getting rid of it. All pain is created by your brain, because your brain has decided that you are threatened or in danger and need protecting. The interesting thing here is that you don't actually have to have any actual tissue damage to feel pain. And if your brain is not aware of tissue damage, you may not feel any pain at all, even when you've injured yourself. Chronic pain is the second most common reason people see a doctor and miss work. More than 1/3 of people with chronic pain become disabled by their pain to some degree. Chronic pain can be mild or excruciating. It can be episodic or continuous. It can be merely inconvenient or totally incapacitating. The pain can be from headaches or joint pain, can be neck pain, back pain, or pain from an injury. Other kinds of chronic pain include tendinitis or sinus pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, and pain affecting specific parts of the body, such as shoulders, elbows, wrists, hands, hips, knees, ankles, or feet. The common thing with all these types of pain is that the actual feeling of pain is always, 100% of the time, created in your brain. This does not mean it's not real. It's very real. But understanding that the pain itself is created in your brain has major implications for how you can get rid of it. And because pain depends so much on what you think and feel about the pain, it's very important you understand pain properly. Your pain experience depends on why your brain has decided you need to be protected, why it's creating the feeling of pain for you in the first place. It can therefore be very useful for you to try to figure out why your brain may be creating pain for you. What was happening at or around the time your pain started? What makes it worse? What makes it better? Why is this so important? Because we know that the brain can be retrained, so you need to use all the tools available to you to retrain your brain out of pain. Some of the keys to retraining your brain are staying active, staying positive, eating well, and sleeping well. Today, let's look at why staying active is so important. Your posture and how you move plays an important role in how you feel and how you experience pain. Even as little as a short walk every day can help. If there are movements you cannot do because of your pain, you can still help yourself by imagining those movements. We know from neuroscience research that imagining a movement influences the brain in a very similar way to actually doing the movement. This can help to retrain your brain to understand that the movement is not dangerous, because imagining doing the movement will not hurt. You can basically trick your brain into giving you back pain-free movement. Play with these sorts of things. Make movement fun. Move in different emotional states, like when you're happy or grateful. Move outside in the sun, in the park with beautiful plants and flowers, or move in water. The movement of your spine is also very important. Yoga or simple spinal exercises can be great for this. And chiropractic care may be really important to help you move too. The main focus of chiropractic care is to improve the movement and function of your spine. This is so important because proper movement of the spine helps the brain to know more accurately what is going on, not just in the spine, but also elsewhere in the body. And chiropractic care has already well known in the research literature to help people who suffer with neck pain, back pain, and headaches. This is most likely because chiropractic care helps the brain know more accurately what is going on in the spine and body, and may help the brain to switch off the feelings of pain when they are no longer needed. So if you suffer with chronic pain, do your best to stay positive, move often, eat well, sleep well, and go see your family chiropractor to help retrain your brain out of pain.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more now about this. So we talked about how when you're not moving right, this and then it creates pain. So let me tell you a little bit about neurology and muscles. So I always find this very interesting. When I want to move my arm like this, inside my muscles of my arm, there are Golgi tendon organs. Golgi tendon organs. The brain sends a signal from up here, down my spine, out my arm to those, and it makes my arm move. I can consciously move my arm. Well, the muscles that enter around your spine, the fine muscles that go from vertebrae to vertebrae, lack those. They don't have those. They don't exist in there. So you can't consciously like move a vertebrae. You can't think about, there goes my C5. That doesn't work. But they got muscle spindles, and they got more muscle spindles than anywhere else in the body. And with a muscle spindle, that's where all the nerves come. They're like reflexatory. So what happens is when you have an injury to your spine, one of your vertebrae is misaligns, we call that a subluxation. When the subluxation occurs, the motion is gone on that joint. It locks up. It locks up because it doesn't want you to hurt it more. So it freezes. And what happens is because there's no Golgi tendons, you can't fix it. You can't consciously make it move again. So what we have to do is we have to go in there and stimulate those muscle spindles to make them fire. And when they fire, it starts to move again. So what happens is the body recognizes the normal biomechanics of how the spine moves is altered because the vertebrae got misaligned. And because you can't consciously move your spine because you lack those tendon organs, those Golgi tendon organs, all you have is muscle spindles. They're reflexatory. It's the chiropractor that comes in, and the chiropractor performs an adjustment to stimulate those muscle spindles to get it to move again. So your spine biomechanics is altered when you can't move your vertebrae anymore. That joint recognizes the danger, and inflammation starts to occur, and other long-term arthritic things that create the pain. So the chiropractor goes in there and removes that by using his hand. That's why people ask me, can I adjust myself? You know, you really can't get into that way. You really can't do it. And I can't just sit there and just like move it myself. Those things don't exist. So that's the chiropractor's job. So when you come to the chiropractor, we always have to see how you move because we know the ones that are stuck are going to start to create pain. Not only at that spot, but also where the nerve comes out, where it goes. because the chemicals being released at that spot travel down the nerve and go wherever that nerve goes. And that's why people get chronic shoulder pain, elbow pain, wrist pain. Yeah, you can damage your wrist and cause problems. But when it comes from the spine, that's where it comes from. It's the fact that we lack the Golgi tendons in our spinal muscles to move them consciously. We only have the muscle spindles which react. And so when they get stuck, they don't work anymore. Because your job of your spine, one of your jobs is to keep your eyes level at all times. So somebody will hurt their neck in a whiplash incident. Then their lower back has to counterbalance to get them going. Then develop chronic lower back pain from a car accident that happened 12 years ago because they're locking up. So let's talk about how chiropractic now, a little bit more detailed, a little more science again, breaks the pain cycle. So the next video I'm going to do is the research showing you that chiropractic can break the pain cycle. Again, if you have a question or a comment, you're watching us live, you just joined us now, go ahead and leave it below. We'll see it. If you're watching this later, hey, still love to have you. Leave a comment, we'll answer it. We'll get back to you, guarantee it. Let's go to the next little piece of science here.
Did you know that pain is created in your brain to let you know that something is not okay in your body? When this happens, it's actually a good thing because it tells you to stop doing some things that are potentially dangerous or harmful. Feeling pain in this situation is actually helpful and informative. If we listen to our bodies, these pain experiences are a good thing. But for some people, pain can become a real problem, because sometimes pain can persist even after an initial injury has healed. When this happens, we call it chronic pain. This is when pain has become non-informative and non-helpful, and the pain itself has become a problem. When you have chronic pain, your brain has learnt to be in pain, and you have entered a nasty pain cycle. The way your brain does this is very similar to the way your brain learns anything else. It's called neuroplasticity, or brain adaptations. The great thing is that there's lots of ways to break your pain cycle. Staying positive, or eating well, or sleeping well, and staying active can all be great places to start. Even as little as a short walk every day can help. If there are movements you cannot do because of your pain, you can still help yourself by just imagining doing those movements. We know from neuroscience research that imagining a movement influences your brain in a very similar way to actually doing the movement. This can help to retrain your brain to understand that these movements are not dangerous, because imagining doing the movement will not hurt. You can basically trick your brain into giving you back pain-free movement. Brain scientists who have studied the effects of chiropractic spinal adjustments have discovered that adjustments may also change the way your brain gets into a pain cycle. This may occur because it's well known now that chiropractic adjustments have a neuroplastic effect on the brain, meaning chiropractic adjustments of your spine changes the way your brain adapts and processes sensory and movement information. In particular, chiropractic adjustments changes the function in a part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is actually the part of your brain that is very involved in how we end up in this vicious chronic pain cycle. To study how chiropractic care may impact on the development of these pain cycles, scientists studied brain activity in people doing what is called a cold pressor test. This involves measuring brain function through EEG recordings or electroencephalography, and they recorded this at rest and then when the participants' hands were immersed in icy cold water. As you might expect, the cold pressor test isn't very pleasant and can be quite painful. The participants then either received a single session of chiropractic care or a control intervention, and then they did the cold pressor test again while their brain activity was recorded. What the scientists found was that after the inactive control intervention, the participants' brain's activity decreased when they repeated the cold pressor test. But there were no changes in the brain activity during the cold pressor test after the chiropractic spinal adjustment session. What this means is that the participants showed pain habituation happening after the sham intervention, which is expected and means that they're getting used to the pain. However, after the adjustment session by the chiropractors, no habituation occurred. The scientists think that this may mean that chiropractic care plays a role in preventing the brain adaptations that occur as pain becomes chronic. In other words, chiropractic care may reset the way the brain processes pain information so that it does not learn to be in chronic pain. This may be why chiropractic care has been shown in research studies to help people who suffer from neck pain, back pain, and certain types of headaches. It could be that chiropractic care helps their brains to adapt better and break the cycle of pain that they're in. So if you suffer from chronic pain, do your best to stay positive, move often, eat well, sleep well, and go see your family chiropractor. Remember, it's never too late to break your pain cycle.
Hi there. Sorry about that. We're back. So let me try to explain that what we just watched there and try to put it in clinical terms of what you would see it here in the office and try to make sense of that. And again, if you're just joining us, you want to leave a comment, go ahead. We'll see you down there and we'll get back to you. But let's talk about it. So neuroplasticity is a pretty big word, but it basically means the more you do something, the more you kind of get used to it, and the way it kind of becomes your thing. Now, unfortunately, the neuroplasticity also means it's really easy to excite it. So the person is always happy. You know, that person that you see at wherever your social church or something like that is always upbeat, always excited. But they got neuroplasticity of always having positive, happy thoughts. And there's that guy that's always grumpy and it's always in a bad mood. Well, that's also neuroplasticity. You know, also just the way everything kind of works. You do things over and over again, you get really good at it. You get really quick at things. That's neuroplasticity. Another way you can look at it too could be like muscle memory, can be a little bit of neuroplasticity. The fact that you learn how to swing a golf club. The first time you swing the club, you're going through all the different stages in your head. You're like, okay, do this, bend my head, twist that. And after you do it many times, it gets to be much easier. But that's the same idea with your nerves. The more you do something negative, the more just kind of comes normal. Your body gets really efficient at it. Your body adapts and changes both to positive and negative. And so when you get to chronic pain, when you're misaligned like that, and you have those we call subluxations, the nerve just becomes more and more used to that being wrong, and it gets real quick at telling you, hey, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. And that lower back pain, as an example, that's the number one cause, right? Lower back pain. The lower back pain just keeps it so easy to excite, it's so easy to get mad, it's so easy. I don't have to do next to nothing now to get that to be mad at me. So a chiropractor goes in there and starts giving chiropractic adjustments. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to help break that neuroplasticity chain. We're trying to get in there and influence that. And that's what the research showed, is that we actually have a positive effect on that. Remember, you can't move those muscles yourself. It has to be the reflexes that do with the muscle spindles. They're all reflexatory muscles, as I talked about earlier. So we have to go in there and change those reflexes and tell the body this is not the way to do things. So back to my video on Monday, you know, the question is, how often do I have to come? Well, a lot of times, you know, sadly, a lot of times when we meet a new patient in our office, they tell us, hey, we've already tried everything else. You're our last hope. I've been dealing with this for years. And they say, well, can you fix this in a week? Well, you know, the neuroplasticity, it's been there for years. A lot of times it's been there for years, even before you know it's there. It might take a couple of years before it talks to you. So we get patients that come in, and we take their x-rays and we see degenerative arthritis and stuff, and they tell us, I didn't even know that was there. So when you give a chiropractic adjustment, the good news is that the research shows it breaks that neuroplasticity, it breaks that pattern, it makes it start going in a different direction, it makes it behave different. This way, the chronic thing, the easy lower back pain that keeps shooting over and over again, you know, no matter what I do, my back hurts. I've tried every different thing. Well, you haven't tried to break the neuroplasticity. That's the that my medical friends and doesn't come up very often. So we go in there and we do the chiropractic adjustment with the idea of breaking and then retraining that neuroplasticity to do what it's supposed to do. So when you come in, we take a look at your x-rays. And the x-rays tell us a lot about how long the problem's really been there. So when we see a good looking disc and we see good strong bones with very little arthritic change, there's the healing potential exponentially increases as far as the time and the efforts it takes to get you better. But if we go in there and we see degeneration, we see a thin disc, we see lots of bony spurs, we know that it's been there for a long time. That neuroplasticity, is really, really built into you. It's going to take a little more effort, it's going to take a little more work on our behalf to break that cycle. So that's kind of how chiropractic gets rid of that chronic pain. So if you know someone has had spinal issues and they're in chronic pain, and maybe they've tried to go to different doctors, they tried muscle relaxers, and they tried, the anti-inflammatories, and nothing's really working. We kind of look at that neuroplasticity and think, you know what, this person's actually changed. Their nervous system's actually altered and changed to doing something that needs the, like a computer, we have to reprogram it, reset it, and that's what chiropractic excels in. That's where we look at the spine and we make those changes. So if you know someone that's been dealing with chronic conditions, let us know. We're here to help out. I want to close the night talking a little bit about something that a couple of years ago was a hot topic. It was a new topic, and luckily it's no longer a hot topic. Luckily it's so much better than what it used to be, and that's going to be opioids. Because we know a lot of these people that dealt with this pain, probably up to about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, the only thing we ever did was give them opiates to numb them of this pain. And even today, now the opiates are kind of going away. Now we're starting to see what the doctors were actually going there, and they'll sever the nerve. They'll actually burn the nerve to make the nerve stop working. Unfortunately, the neuroplasticity doesn't just stop at the nerve; it affects the spinal cord and everything. And we've got patients that come in and had that nerve burn, and they're still having issues. Heck, I've got patients that had their leg amputated. They come in and tell me their foot hurts, but they don't got the foot. It's the neuroplasticity that developed in the spine, where the injury was in the spine that went down that caused the foot problems that came back. So you cut out the foot and the problem's still there, but the neuroplasticity still there. So we give them an adjustment, their foot pain goes away from a foot they don't have. So we see a lot of that. But I want to close the night talking about opioids and what happens typically with an opioid epidemic. I've been very involved in this prior to COVID with the health departments here in Winnebago County, going to a lot of different meetings and stuff. You get that pain, they give you an opiate. You start taking the opiate, you get addicted to the opiate. The doctor figures out, you're addicted to the opiate. We're going to cut you off. You go to the pharmacy, they won't give it to you anymore. So now you can't get your opiate anymore, but you're highly addicted. So then you result in going to street drugs. That's when the heroin and stuff kicks in, because you got to get that opiate going because your body's become addicted to it. So the people who get addicted to this opiate that result in heroin problems are everybody. It's the guy with the foot injury that took opiates. It's the doctor, the accountant, the lawyer, the teacher. I mean, we used to think about drug addicts. There was a stereotypical person you thought about, but this affects anybody that's ever dealt with chronic pain. We've all been there. We've all had issues. So if you know someone in chronic pain, we don't want to see you go down this road, but I want to close tonight with a quick video about how opiates work and what they do, what they don't do, why we should avoid them at all costs, and about how chiropractic can fill that void. So again, thanks for watching this. If you're dealing with chronic pain, come talk to us. Let's look at your spine, see what we can do to help you out. If you're watching this in a different part of the world, a different state, still contact us. We got friends all over the place. We'd love to not see somebody else getting the opiates. So let's close this video. Thanks again for watching. If you have any future comments, go ahead and leave them. We'll get back to you, and see you next month, and we'll do another topic. If you have a topic you're curious about, you want to see me talk about, leave messages again. We'll get back to you. Every Monday, joining me for Ask the Chiropractor. I just kind of do a fun little question, and come back and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and whatever the one that I forget to mention right now. All right, everybody, have a great night. Thanks for tuning in.
We've all heard about the opioid epidemic, but what are opioids and why are they such a big problem? Opioids are basically a type of pain-killing drug. No one likes pain, right? So why wouldn't you want to take a drug to help relieve it? Well, I'm going to answer that question by asking another question. Do you think heroin, which is an opioid drug, is good for you? In case you're unsure how to answer that question, let me first list some of the effects of taking heroin: nausea and vomiting, itching, insomnia, infections, abscesses, constipation, liver, kidney and lung disease, mental health problems, problems with sexual function, and to cap it off, death. And I'm not just talking about a few deaths. Heroin kills thousands of people every single year. I think we would all agree that this highly addictive drug is bad for you, right? You might be surprised to know that heroin was produced over 100 years ago by pharmaceutical companies as an alternative to morphine, because morphine, which is also a painkiller and another opioid drug, was causing too many problems with addictions and overdoses. It was thought at the time that heroin was less addictive than morphine, so it would be a better option. Now that thinking was simply wrong. You may be wondering why I keep talking about heroin. Well, fast forward to about 20 years ago. New types of opioid drugs began to emerge, and they were thought to be more beneficial and less addictive than heroin. You might have heard the names of some of these drugs: Tramadol, OxyContin, codeine, and Vicodin, just to name a few. In reality, modern-day opioid drugs are similar to slow-release heroin. They are highly addictive, and they're associated with major withdrawal symptoms, and they're killing more and more people every single year. When they were released, these new opioid drugs were falsely marketed to doctors as being an effective pain reliever with a low risk of addiction, and they quickly gained popularity for the treatment of chronic pain. Chronic pain is pain that has been around for more than 3 months. As it turns out, though, they provide minimal relief for long-term pain like arthritis or chronic back pain. In fact, there is no good quality scientific evidence that shows that they have good long-term benefits for managing pain. What there is good evidence for is that prescription opioids cause significant harm and thousands of deaths every single year. In 2018, there was almost 50,000 opioid overdose deaths in the US alone. This is why current guidelines say that opioids are not the answer for chronic pain, and they should be avoided. So I think we can all agree that opioids should not be your first choice option when you are in pain, and should be avoided wherever possible, because there are much better choices out there. So what can you do if you're in pain? Current guidelines promote avoiding drugs and surgery if you have pain, and instead, one of the first-line choices you should look at is manual therapies like chiropractic care. Chiropractic care is well known in the research literature to help people who suffer with neck pain, back pain, and headaches. And research has shown us that people who go to see a chiropractor are far less likely to take opioid medication. In fact, a large recent high-quality study reviewed all the scientific evidence about opioid use in people who see a chiropractor. When the researchers in the study put all the evidence together, they found that people with back pain who saw a chiropractor were 64% less likely to receive an opioid prescription. Considering how harmful opioid medication can be, this is a really important finding. If you go and see a chiropractor when you're in pain, you are much less likely to need to take opioid drugs. That has got to be a good thing for you. And don't forget that chiropractic care has so much more to offer than just helping you with your chronic pain. Chiropractic care is all about improving the communication between your brain and body so you can function at your best. But if you are suffering from pain, don't reach for the pill bottle. Instead, do your best to stay positive, move often, eat well, sleep well, and go see your family chiropractor.